Yes, it does. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I call the meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we're in Treaty 1 territory in the traditional land of the Métis Nation. My name is Ron Merritt. I'll be your chairperson this afternoon. Introducing the panel members is Richard Whitbread to my left, and to his left is Marcel Larondeau. And representing the city from the assessment department is Mr. Frolick. And our recording secretary is Michelle Anipin. We'll be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will have a discussion for those matters. The statements that the applicant and the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anybody speaking in these matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it, along with the city administration. We make decisions based on the evidence provided at the hearing, and issue a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decision in respect to application may be appealed to the members of the municipal board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, and a court of claims benefit if the matter pertains to exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the board's order. With respect to the hearing this afternoon, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the other applicant may have, and it will be the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket this afternoon. And the session will close after all applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live stream recorded and will be part of the public record. We'll ask our secretary to swear in the assessor and to swear in Mr. Becker or affirm him, either one.
Can you state your full name, please?
You're a brother.
Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Can you state your full name, please? Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, we'll go to number one item on the docket, which is 101 Rockman Street. Mr. Pollock, the floor is yours, sir.
File number is 193638. Roll number is 030716 48000. Assessed value that we have for this property is $6,585,000. Parcel use is industrial heavy manufacturing. 17 buildings in total, with ranges building for the buildings between 1954 and 2008. However, the majority of this building was built before 1975, so the effective year that we have for this building is 1966. Because of the uniqueness of the structure, we have wall height between 14 feet in some areas to 65 feet in other areas. We have a land area of 471 to 468. And we have a leasable area of 188,260, and I'm asking for the assessment to be confirmed for this property. I've never been in this property, but we have pictures that have been provided by previous appeals. So the property is located in the Fort Garry Industrial Park, just off London Highway. So if you take a look at it on the bottom of page 2, it's in between the streets of Windermere on the one side, and Waterford or Bilberry on the south side. There's a location for it. It's essentially in a residential area, but it's been here for so long that that's the reason why it's located in the location that it's located at. Page 3 has some pictures of the property. Page 4 shows the office space. Page 5 shows some additional pictures. As you can see by the process, it's a Despite the age, it's very clean, it's very organized, it's well maintained. And on page 8, they have been compliant with regards to filling out their income and expense mailers. This property is owner occupied, so there are no market rents available for this property, and there's a list of the expenditures. The property did sell recently of November 18th, 2015 for $5,575,000. So using the leasable area of 188,260, we have a rent per square foot of $3.10. Come up with a potential rent of $583,606. So we have a leasable area of 188,260, and we're using the model generated vacancy loss for this property at 2.5%. It's the same vacancy loss that is indicative of the entire area for the southwest quadrant. So we feel comfortable with regards to that. But where we've made adjustments to it is with regards to the cap rate. So going through our numbers here of the 2.5% vacancy loss, the 2% for expenses, there's no need for the 5% because this property is owner occupied and there's no tenant improvements or leasing commissions or anything like that or market rents. Using a shortfall of $375, we come up with a net operating income of $539,987. So when we looked at the review process for the property in 2020, we actually increased the cap rate by 0.7%. So you'll notice an overall cap rate of 8.2%. We made that adjustment to be more reflective of the age of the building. So with the higher cap rate, because it is a good property, still in a good area, variety of ceiling heights, between 14 to 65. Yes, it's unique and it's unique in some regards, but in some regards, if a person's looking for a unique building, and they fit their needs as well. So we adjusted the cap rate, so we came up with a value of $6,585,000. What we've done here is I've tried to show some other comparables, and I've got a range there from $4.22 to $6.53. The range of square feet are from 95,000 square feet to 228,000 square feet. So by us using $3.10, we're actually reducing the rent to be reflective of the higher square footage. With regards to capitalization rates, our cap rate is higher than most of the cap rates that we've used for this property due to the uniqueness of it. And as many of you guys have heard this before, but I'll just do a quick summary. With regards to the capitalization rates, due to the uniqueness of the building, we have a higher cap rate for this property. With regards to non-recoverable expenses and sampling, a lot of the evidence that has been provided throughout the years talks about leasing commissions, tenant improvements, sales commissions. This property is owner occupied. None of those expenses are part of the calculations here. If I was looking at buying a property strictly on a direct sales comparison approach, we wouldn't be taking a 5% management fee off for non-recoverables. We follow IAA standards, and that concludes my formal presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Fullock. Mr. Becker, questions of the assessor?
Just a couple. You mentioned because it's owner occupied, it wouldn't have a management fee.
Well, there's no need because a lot of in our analysis and in the rebuttal information that's been provided by various tax agents, they talk about leasing commissions, they talk about tenant improvements. This is an owner-occupied building here.
But if this is supposed to be as if it was in the market lease fee, right? So if it was gone for rent right now, would there be some leasing commissions?
But we don't include that in our valuation
I'm
process.
just asking you a question. Do you think there'd be leasing commissions?
Oh, there usually is.
Okay, is there owner-occupied properties that have a private company that does their property management to make sure they look after property taxes, snow clearing, all that? Like somebody has to do that, correct?
Yeah, but it's not applicable in this situation.
Why?
Why? Because it's an owner-occupied building here. There's no market rents that are being collected.
So if they put it in there because they pay somebody to do all that, you wouldn't consider it?
That's just normal expenses of running a building. It's just like normal expenses of running a house.
Okay. You said you adjusted the cap rate by 2%, by 0.2% because it was 8% last time.
Was it 8%?
Yes.
I think initially, was that the board decision or was that our decision?
I'm not industrial. It was based on our valuation, unfortunately.
I think it is based on the board's decision.
Was it
Because
based on-
that's the way the,
But it says 8% on
went
it.
out.
Okay, just bear with me. Yeah, I'll be just,
I looked at the board's
Okay,
decision.
perfect,
and,
okay. Thank you.
And the letter states that.
It was 8%.
8%.
so I think initially what we would have had, or in our model, we would have had maybe 7.5%, and we adjusted about 0.7.
Okay, so you reduced the vacancy, because it used to be 4 for 18.
Yeah.
You took away the 5%, and now it's 8.2% as opposed to the 8 that was applied by the board.
Well, yeah, regardless of what happens in previous board decisions, we stick to our modeling process. We start with a clean slate in 2020.
So how much did you adjust it because it's unique?
Well, okay, in 2018, the assessed value of the property was $7,969,000. And right now, we're coming up with a value of $6,585,000. So that, to me, that's a significant adjustment.
Or that it was significantly over-assessed?
Well, either way, we've done our evaluation process, and looking at, let's bear with me for a second. No, I don't have it here. I just printed up your 2018. I don't have our brief in 2018.
Okay, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread, please.
No questions.
Mr. Rondeau, no questions, sir. I guess, Mr. Pollack, just for the record, this is all model driven. Any overrides at all?
Well, the override that we would have done would have been at the cap rate.
That,
And I do believe that
I cheated a little, and you guys are the same cap rate, so there's no argument that way.
we're actually not that far off in valuation.
Yeah. I think, Mr. Becker, the floor is going to be yours.
Okay, can I ask the board to turn to page 4, please? Under the property description, subject property is heavy industrial manufacturing plant constructed in multiple stages between 1954 and 2008. The multiple stages of construction are summarized below. The largest portion that was built was in 1954. And that was 48,895 square feet with a 22-foot wall height. And then in 1965, they added the 53-foot wall height portion of 13,125. And then they added a portion of 56-foot height in 1969 of 13,000. And then in 1972, they added 24,190 square feet with a 33-foot height. So the heights vary throughout the building. But as shown, 69% of the gross building area was constructed prior to 1970, and 95.8% of the improvements were constructed in 1975 and earlier. Only a very small portion of the improvement, less than 5%, were constructed between 1980 and 2008. And we note that the assessor has calculated an effective age of 1966 for the subject. In addition, 38,702 square feet of the improvements have wall heights of 43 feet or higher, representing 20.6% of the total floor area. The demand for buildings with wall heights of this magnitude in the city of Winnipeg is exceptionally limited, particularly when the factor is combined with the piecemeal construction and plant layout. Although the improvements are well utilized by this particular user, the layout and structure of the improvements do represent very significant risk factors when valuing the property. These risk factors will be accounted for in our selection of the capitalization rate. I'm going to turn the board to page 6. Under market rent, the subject has been valued by the assessment and taxation department with a blended April 1, 2000 market rent of $3.10 per square foot for the entire 188,260 square feet of leasable area. Subject property was owner occupied as of April 1, 2018, and for the purposes of the report, we're using the assessor's 310, but only on the main floor, and we're using $1.50 on the mezzanine area for a blended overall rate of $3.07 per square foot. Under vacancy, City of Winnipeg Assessment Taxation Department's valuation of income-producing properties for 2020 general assessment indicates that the market vacancy allowance for this region is 2.5%. For the 2018 property assessment, the assessor utilized a 4% vacancy rate. Due to the type of construction and size, we feel this property would be difficult to lease if the current owner left, and we will apply a 4% rate in our valuation. A similar building to this, but maybe not the heavy construction, but the Wall Heights, is the cargo building for Air Canada out on Saskatchewan. It's got high ceiling height for a Boeing 747 to be able to go in, etc. That property went vacant in 2012, and as of today, it's still 80% vacant. So there's a limited use for a building like this unless you're going to carry on the operation. Shortfall, we'll use $375. The actual shortfall is closer to $9, but there's high hydro costs just because of the type of manufacturing. The capitalization rate, we are not contesting the 8.2% capitalization rate applied by the assessor when valuing the subject is 8.2%. However, there are several significant risk factors inherent with the subject property, including extremely high wall heights for several components of the improvements which have a very limited market, the age-induced mill construction, a very large area of improvements over 180,000, and the location of the subject in the middle of a residential area. So on page 8, I have our breakdown. We're using the same square footage. As mentioned, my overall rent is lower, 4% for vacancy, 7% for non-recoverable, $375 for shortfall, 8.2% for capitalization rate, for a rounded value of $5,953,000. Page 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You can see on page 15 at the top of 15, this is part of the original with the low ceiling heights. Page 16, again, we have lower ceiling heights on these portions. Page 17, the top of 17 and the bottom of 17, there is a higher ceiling height in that area. Page 18, this is the current valuation by the assessment department. And page 20 and 21 is the 2018 Board of Revision decision, which used our net operating income and a 8% cap rate. And I'm open for questions.
I thank you. Mr. Pollock?
How many square footage area is the nest space?
It's just under 4,000.
And where is that? I just couldn't find it.
I can't go on my picture. I don't know if it's on my photos. But if you look at the first page of your brief,
Okay.
you'll show that the gross floor area is 180 to 260.
Yep.
But the plan area is only 184, 977.
Okay. So that's where the difference is.
Yeah.
And so, what would be your optimum height for wall height?
Optimum?
Yeah, in terms of a wall height, because you know the range here is between 14 and 65 feet high. So in a perfect world, what is the optimum height?
For commercial? I mean, for a warehouse or industrial, probably
Yeah.
in the 20 to 28 foot
Has that
range.
changed, 20 to 28?
Yeah, that's just my rough guess.
Okay, and has that changed over the years?
I don't know.
Okay. No other questions?
I thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
No.
Mr. Rondeau? No. Very good. Okay, we've got just a couple of questions. Mr. Becker, you're using a 4% vacancy rate. We feel like that's justified to use it compared to the city?
Well, the city's, if you look at the site plan of the property, say on page 3 of my presentation, it's right in the middle of a residential area. If this property goes vacant, I'm not sure what really use you would use it for, because due to the type of construction, there may be some contamination, but I'm not saying there is because I didn't check it. But if it does go vacant, unless somebody comes along that wants to buy the business as well, I think it would be vacant for a long period of time. So I looked at 2.5% is not indicative of something that we're not going to be selling in the market pretty quickly.
Your gross incomes are only off $5,000, so
We're very
close.
3 cents overall.
What can you tell us about the sale that happened in 2015?
I don't have a lot of information on that one, other than that my understanding is a lot of the equipment, et cetera, that was in there. Now, whether they registered it with that.
You know what, we had no sales data with regards to it. If I would have had something, I would have included it in the
Yeah, this used to be Howard or something, I can't remember the name of it. They do the same thing as the previous owners.
Okay. So you can't really tell us whether it was listed on the open market or anything like that? Or,
No, I don't have any of that.
okay, goodwill or equipment and...
I actually have nothing on it. So
All right. Okay. Summation, either
No,
party?
we're not that far apart.
No, I think
Good. We'll go on to item number 2, which is number 1, coal. Mr. Bullock, the floor is yours. And there is a recommendation on here, so maybe go into that and we'll see whether...
Okay, I'll just go over the core fundamental details first. File number is 19-2315, roll number is 14-0937-00500. In 2020, we had assessed value of $1,977,000. There's 6 different buildings here, built from 1928 to 2003. We have a leasable area of 43,534, and my recommendation is to reduce the value to $1,875,000.
Mr. Becker, how do you feel?
no thanks. Sorry, we'd like to carry on.
All right. Mr. Pollock, the floor is yours.
Yes, so we have a land area of 157,598, and we have a leasable area of 42,534. So one of my colleagues has been in this property before, and so that was a part of the reasoning for my recommendation here. So page 2 shows just an overview of where the property is, or the picture of the subject property, and all the 6 different buildings that are part of it. A couple of these buildings are unheated storage space, so that's a part of my adjustment that I've made. Location-wise, on the top of page 3, it's just on the south side of the Nairn overpass. So essentially, you go over the overpass here, and then you turn right down Tasty Meats, and then you turn right again to Cole Avenue, and at the end of the street, you'll see the location of the building. So the bottom of page 3 here is the unheated storage space that we have here. So this is where they store a lot of the materials. And what's unique about this property is historically we would have a bit lower of an unheated space of $2.50. But what my colleague had shared with me, or what she was really impressed with, was the structure and how it was built. It was very soundly built. And so there was a lot of care and effort being taken into it. So she said the quality of the storage space was of top quality. Page 4 shows some additional pictures of the building, of the storage area. Some aspects of the building do have lower ceiling heights because parts of the building were built in 1928. Page 5 shows some of the stoves that I do believe that they sell in the front counter area. And on page 6 shows some additional storage area. Property owner has been compliant with regards to filling out income and expense mailer information. And here's the breakdown so I'll just go over my rec that we talked about. So for what we have here is the 2 spaces. So what ended up taking place here is initially what happened was that we actually have 11,000 square feet of space that's attributed to like office area or storage area that's heated. So for those areas, I have a rent of $5.98. And for the outdoor storage area, which is 32,044 square feet, I rely on $3 a square foot. With the rest of my parameters, it comes up with a net with a 5% vacancy, it comes up with an effective market income of $156,600. Using shortfall and the 2%, we come up with a net operating income of $145,305. Using a cap rate of 7.75%, I came up with a value of $1,875,000. On page 9, here's some comparables that I have. What I've tried to do is I can total my property is 43,000 square feet, so I tried to get areas that were close to that. So my range of rents are from 15 of sizes of the space are from 15,000 square feet to 46,000 square feet. My ranges are from 1963 to 1981. The effective age for this property that we have listed here is 1964. And that concludes my formal presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Becker?
Just a couple of questions. You mentioned the unheated area on bottom of your page 3.
Yes.
Those are old wood posts?
Yeah.
Okay. And the only retail areas which you show at the top of page 4 and top page 5?
That's correct.
All right, that's some of the questions I have.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
No questions.
Just around the Mr. Fowler, the floor is yours. Why?
Mr. Boardroom.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Becker? I had Brad all morning. I'm sorry, Doug.
All right. Your turn.
Okay, on page 2 of my brief, it's just a front picture of the property, and our requested value $1,346,000. On page 3, I'd like to go through the property description. The subject property is located at 1 Cole Avenue, City of Winnipeg, in an assembly of different structures forming an industrial type property. It is located on the south side of Cole Avenue, just under and south of the Narran overpass. Subject property is best described as an industrial site. It is comprised of 4 main improvements constructed over a period of years and various construction materials. The details are below. The first buildings were built in 1928. The main area is 6,106 square feet with an upper area of 9,202 square feet, and that was 2-story. Building number 2 is also built in 1928. Wood frame, basement area of 1,064 square feet, combined area of 5,384 square feet, and that's a 2-story office building. Buildings 3, 4, 5, and 6 were built between 1951 and 2003. They're unheated, with the last 2, number 5 and 6, being unheated and gravel floors. The office building is located on the center of the site, previous page picture. The structure has a variant age of 1947 and consists of 5,380 square feet. Main floor comprises 3,788 square feet, second floor 532. The easternmost building, I guess I don't have to go through all this, but basically it's old, some of it has got heating, some of it doesn't. Page 4 is a picture of the top of the page is the site itself, and then the bottom of page 4, it shows the different buildings that I was discussing in the building description. I can go to page 6, bottom of page 6. The rental area for the purpose of this report, the rentable area of 43,534 square feet is used. This is the same that was applied by the assessment department. Under market rent, the subject property has been valued by the assessment department with a blended April 1, 2018 market rent of $3.98 per square foot to the 43,534 square feet of leasable area. Subject property was owner occupied as of April 1, 2018, therefore market research for comparable rents was undertaken and the following comparisons were found. Found property on Church, built in 1977 with a 16-foot height, $575. The rents here range from $575 up to $695. They're all newer. They range in age from 1977 to 1984. All the properties considered were new in the subject and have rated wall height. For buildings 1 and 2, we will use a net rent of $6. So for the 6,106 square feet building and the 5,384 square foot building, we're using a rent of $6 per square foot. For the unheated areas, we looked at the following. 165 Eagle Drive, there's one building there, is 2,032 square feet. It's a 2016 lease, month to month, $1.48 gross. Another one at 165 Eagle, 1,088 square feet, it's a 2014 lease, and it was $3 a gross rent. For the unheated areas, we will use a net rent of $1.50 per square foot. Based on the above and considering the site-specific attributes of the subject property, an April 1, 2008 market rent of not more than $6 per square foot overall should be applied to the subject property's heated area and $1.50 per square foot to the unheated space as follows. So my overall rent, based on 43,534 square feet, is $2.69. Page 8, we're using the assessor's 5% vacancy, $375 for shortfall, 7% for non-recoverables, and we're not disputing the capitalization rate of 7.75. Page 9, it shows the workout based on our overall rent of potential market income of $117,006. Vacancy, shortfall, non-recoverable expense, 7.75 cap, for a rounded value of $1,346,000. Page 13 are some of the pictures. The first page on number 13 there, this is the rear and front of building number 1. This is the inside of building number 1. This is building, oh, I don't have it marked on all of them. Well, there's door number 2. This is some of the door number 3. You can see that there's low ceiling height, just minimal lighting. Number 4 on page 18, and then this is the newer one on the bottom of page 19, and page 20, and page 21, and page 22 again is another. This is the one with the old wood posts for beams, etc. And that's my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Pollock, questions?
So on the top of page 19 and the top of page 20, is that the newer structures that were built, the newer unheated structures?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I haven't been in here, but it's just that. And there's no heat whatsoever, correct?
Correct. I did inspect these buildings back for the 16 appeal, I think, so
Okay.
I am aware of them. On page 16, that's actually part of the basement.
Page 16? Okay.
Yeah.
But I think
No, I'm sorry, that's not part of the basement. That's the one. That's the 2-story building, building number 2.
Yeah. There's no question. No other questions.
All right. Mr. Whitbread?
Just one. I'm mulling over your comments, sir, on renting this building or selling this building based on A, where it's located, and
Yes.
B, the type of buildings it is. So thinking about the sort of sophisticated nature of this building and the equipment inside it, do you have an opinion on the probability that this building would be sold for anything but what it does now and what it did before?
I think it could be sold as storage warehouses. That's about it. You know that building in the front, the old house that they use for retail and offices? I guess if I was to think of something like a Centennial Storage or whatever, where they have a little house sometimes in the front where the manager stays and then they rent the rest of the storage lockers, I think that could be an alternate use.
I don't see any photos, and maybe the city has some. Take another minute of the layout of the property.
Oh, on page 4, bottom of page 4 of mine.
I can see it here on
Yeah.
the cities as well. Just looking at room to move the trucks and whatnot for storage facilities. Because it seems like a pretty dedicated operation. And those machines are not easy to get out of there. That machinery is not coming out of there.
No, but they also own that lot behind it. If you look at the bottom of page 4.
That's the big one. Is there a railroad track in there?
No, the one right to the, I guess it would be to the north of them. No, I guess that would be
To the south.
Oh,
south of them.
Just behind number 5, right?
Yeah.
That's where the plant is.
That's where the plant is.
Yeah.
This is mainly for storage and retail.
thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Rondeau? And just, the retail is the number 2 building, correct?
Number 1 is where all the transactions take place.
Number 1?
Yeah, that's the old house.
So 2 is storage, 3 is storage, 4 is storage?
Yeah, but two is heated though.
2 is heated.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one where number 1 and 2 is what at the bottom page.
That's the
4.
low ceilings in those heated ones.
Yeah, those are the ones we applied $6, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6 we applied the $150.
You applied $6 to it, what is that, a 14-foot ceiling or 6? Yeah,
Number 3, it's 2-story. Building number 2, it's actually 2-story.
so that's office.
No, I think it's more storage. I honestly can't remember since I was there. I think it's more storage. It might have been office at one time. If you look at the picture of page 2, it's kind of to the left of the gate there. That was one of the original buildings built in 1928. That's the 2-story portion there. So we would have low ceiling height on each floor, yes, but
What would they be storing in there?
just bricks.
On the second story? I don't think
Not
so.
on the second story, no, I'm not sure what this story is. And if you look at the bottom of page 4, it's funny how the land actually juts out to take that into place.
Into the other land, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of. So that's the number 2 building. So on your page 15, that's storage for that would be the bricks, I guess, the ones that's shipping off in boxes.
Yeah, and they, when it's heated, they also store the mortar, etc., the pre-mixed.
On the top of 15.
Yeah.
But that's a low ceiling. It's not even 14 feet, is it?
I'm not sure if I have the right design. I don't have the building detail on each one, so no, I don't. It is low ceiling, yes.
Yeah, you know what, it may even actually be 11 feet,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because our lowest ceiling height is 11 feet.
Yeah.
So what's the normal storage for a 11-foot ceiling?
Well, this is a 1928 building though.
I know, but it's the only heated building, 1928, 11 feet high. Are you really going to get a big rent on a...
Well, it's a combination of other things though, too, though, right?
I'm looking at that one because it's the only heated building.
Well, there's 2 heated areas. There's the little house, and then
That's
there's
the sales area.
Yeah, exactly. That's number 1.
Yeah.
And then the other section
It's
would
number
be
2.
number 2, which are the 2 sections combined.
But behind number 2, you got a 2-story building, do you not?
Yes.
So is that all one roll number, Doug?
Like for building number 2, or building number owner, that one has roughly 6,100 square feet on the main,
Yeah.
and then it's got another 3,000 square feet on the second. That would be the building at the far left.
So 3,000 square feet on the second.
Yeah.
And you're still putting that at $6 a square foot for a second floor.
I put the whole thing at 6. Firstly, I could say we might be a little light on number 1, but we're a little heavy on number 2.
Okay.
The main floor of number 1 is actually, well, you saw the pictures, it's actually a nice retail space.
Yeah.
And even on the building number 1 that we have here, you're not accounting for like what's on the second floor, Doug? On
I
building
never
number.
made it up there, so
Okay, yeah.
I think it's more
Well,
office or file. It's
yeah.
not showrooms, it's not open to the public.
Yeah. So our square footages are the same, but it's just a combination of, because it's such a mixed bag of property, right?
So the square footage that you have on that one, have they got something for the basement on that too then, or what?
Yeah, we do for building,
For building number 1?
yeah.
So what's that basement used for?
Nothing, it's not included in the leasable area. Like the total gross area of the
You sure?
property is 46,630.
Yeah.
I thought you had something for basement in yours.
Well, he has it listed, but we don't include it in our valuation.
In the leasable area. The leasable area is about 3,000 square feet short of the actual total floor area.
Mm-hmm.
And the basement area is 1,000, and the second story of the old house
Yeah.
is roughly 600 square feet. So that would make up for about 1,600 square feet of it.
Two-story. Upper area 9,200 square feet in building number 2.
Yeah, that's our building number 1.
That's upper area, right?
And that would include, yeah, so it's 6,100 on the main, and then 3,100 on the second. And then the other one, the other two-story is 1,064 in the basement, 3,788 on the main, and then roughly 600 on the second. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, so that would be the building number 1.
Okay, there's no further questions.
So Doug, because I gotta clean this up, so building 91, you're good with 6,106 square feet, and then for building number 2, you have combined at 5384?
Including the basement.
Yep. And didn't you say building number 2 has some second floor space there too?
Yeah, roughly 600 square feet, or just under 600.
Yeah.
Unused, he said.
Yeah, I know, but it's just, square footage is what I say, but the point is, and if you look at our presentation there, gentlemen,
Yeah.
so what we had here is, because I need to clean it up. So if you look at my page 8, we have the breakdown of 53 and 38,150.
Yeah.
So that's what I need to try to clean up.
We're showing a higher area at the higher rate.
Yeah. The only difference is management essentially and the outdoor storage.
Because you're showing 6 on all of it, he's showing just 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not showing the second building.
But he actually, when he did his
When I did my
recommendation,
Yeah.
Then
changed
you
it.
showed it.
Yeah.
Oh, you wrote it?
Yeah.
We did, yeah.
Well, I didn't know because Doug did accept it.
That's the recommendation.
This was the recommendation, yeah, this is
The workup.
because Doug and I talked about this, and then I talked with the assessor who did this in 2018.
Okay. Yeah, that explains it.
Okay. But I had to clean it up because I had to understand it so I could talk about it. Even though it's still confusing.
But you agree in regards to the total square
Footage, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Just that the rental rates are a little...
Yeah, the main difference is the outside storage area.
Mr. Becker, just a couple of little questions. In your presentation on page 9, you have other income of 9120?
Yes.
Is that rental for signs or something like that?
Something like that. Let me see, it's on their mailer. Did I include your mailer? Yes, yes, you did.
And while you're digging through that, this property has been appealed multiple times.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is the status of it right now? Is it,
It's at the municipal board in 2016 and 2018.
okay.
But it doesn't have to go there at 18, right?
You mean in 20?
20. Yeah, Mr. Merkley, 9,000 is for some parking income and billboards.
Okay.
Yeah, but we
So,
didn't include
but is
that.
that the municipal board prior to this?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's,
I just want to make... All right. Summation needed, party?
no, I think we're good.
Okay. Let's go on to 531 Goldstein Street. So, Mr. Pollak, whenever you're ready.
Just bear with me here for a sec. This property's not as complicated. I can give you the workups if you guys want them. We'll go through the procedure first, and then...
I think you can, there was a recommendation, but based on the presentation that I see from, it's not going to be accepted, so you may proceed.
That is correct. I think there's one of them I might exceed.
You may proceed.
File number is 192766. Roll number is 0204118600. We have assessed value of $9,062,000. This parcel is also industrial heavy manufacturing. We have the effective year built for this property of 1958, and that's actually and we haven't changed that at all. So I'm pretty sure there have been some improvements that would justify it being newer than 1958, but that's the valuation that we have. The wall heights vary between 12 and 21 feet. It's zoning M1. We have a land area of 592,444. We have a leasable area of 172,354. And my recommended value was $8,458,000.
Mr. Pollock, do you have a handout for that too?
Yes, I do. That's
If you don't mind?
Yep.
Yeah.
He understood if he didn't run past.
Thank you. Because I did offer, did I not?
You did offer, he said no.
Thank you, Marcel. I appreciate that.
Mr. Becker,
Oh,
do
you
you
want
want
that one?
Yeah,
Anyway,
yes,
okay.
please.
Okay. Moving on to page 2, you're going to see where the property is located at. So there's like a little industrial park section that's located like in the Monroe, off of the Monroe area. So this property is on 531 Gillespie. Here's the back portion of it on page 2. And just an overview. Page 3 shows where it's actually located at. So it's on the dead-end street of Gillespie. And as you can see, there's the layout of the property there on page 3. I did not provide a picture of the front. Either way, the pictures on page 4 are from the Altus brief in 2018. So it shows the office area and the lunchroom area. Page 6 shows the manufacturing process. So I do believe they manufacture boxes here. And that's on page 6 and page 7. Page 8 shows some additional pictures. So as you can tell, it's well-maintained manufacturing. It meets the needs of the subject of the property owner. Very clean and very organized on page 10 and 11. So what I've done here, so the property owner has been compliant with regards to filling out income and expense mailer information. So what is interesting about this is that I'm not too sure about the sales history of this, so because there was nothing in their database, but there's 2 sales. There was $1 million consideration in the sworn value for $1 million in 2015. And then subsequently in 2014, the value was $4,325,000. When you look at my recommendation, so essentially I stuck, the parameters are exactly the same. We used the rent of $3.95. And what I did is I changed the cap rate to 7.5% to be reflective of the fact that it's a good building, well maintained, but because the ceiling heights are lower, I figured it justified a 7.5% cap rate with regards to that. Our rents are similar to the entire building, the ones we used for other ones. So the $3.95 seems to be reflective of it. When we're looking at the pictures of the subject property of the office space, it certainly seems newer than a 1958 building, but it's not spectacular by no means, but it's definitely not 1958. And that concludes my formal presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Becker, questions?
Yes, your rent of $3.95, the comparisons that you used. Can I turn to your page 14?
Yep.
The first one is 1345 Redwood. This property used to be General Motors Parts Department warehouse. And then another company bought it, completely renovated it. And Boeing Canada is in there now, and it's 100% air conditioned, correct?
That is correct.
So it would proceed with that rent. And it's smaller and newer than this other.
Yeah, the model rent that we've used for this property is $395. It's lower than all my comparables.
Do you know how the 395 was come up with?
Model generated?
You don't have any other older buildings with leases, like 1968 is your oldest building?
That's the ones that we've been using here right now that are of larger sizes. So
Okay, you mentioned sales on page 12. You said one was for $1,015,000, and then you mentioned 2014. Do you mean 2001?
I'm in 2001, I apologize for
Yeah,
that.
okay.
There is no additional information in terms of sales mailers. If there would have been, then I would have provided that.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Richard?
Nothing.
Marcel? You're good? Good. And Mr. Pollock, I note that on your front of your page 1, this particular property is at the municipal board for 2016, 2018.
That is correct.
Mr. Becker, the floor is yours.
Okay, page 2, there's a picture of the front of the property.
I've driven by there before, but I just,
Page 3, I'll just kind of go over a description of the building. You can see the site plan below, the picture at the bottom of page 3. Subject property located at 531 Gillespie Street in the city of Winnipeg is a one-story industrial building located on the east side of Gillespie Street between Dobie to the south and Neil Avenue to the north. Subject property is best described as a light manufacturing and warehouse storage facility. The building was built in 1958 of masonry construction and has a gross floor area of 175,426 square feet. The warehouse portion constitutes 164,104 square feet and has a reported wall height of 19 feet. However, the warehouse section is on an elevated slab with a clear ceiling height of approximately 14 feet only. The office portion consists of 8,250 square feet and has a ceiling height of 10 feet. Subject building is located in East Kildonan Industrial Area, situated on 587,624 square foot parcel of land. This results in a land to building ratio of approximately 3.41 to 1. The site was previously serviced with a rail spur, but that has not been the case for a number of years. Page 4 shows a couple more pictures of the property. And then on page 6, we're using the same rentable area as the assessor. And then on page 7 is where we deal with our market rent. Subject property has been valued by the Assessment and Taxation Department with a blended April 1, 2018 market rent of $395 per square foot to the 172,354 square feet of leasable area. Subject property was owner occupied as of April 1, 2018. Therefore, market research for comparable rents was undertaken before all comparisons were found. The first one is at 1093 Sherwin Road. It was built in 1964. It's 175,000 square feet. It has a March 1, 18 lease for $3.15 a square foot. Has 19-foot wall height with a land area of 317,988. The next one's at 1460 Dublin. It has an effective age of 1910. It's 161,800 square feet. November 30th, 2016 lease for $249. It has 12 to 38 foot height, and it has 1,163,052 square feet of land. The next one is on Barry Street, built in 1963. It has 148,709 square feet. This is September 2016, leased for $2 a square foot, 21-foot wall height, and a land area of 958,320. 1000 King Edward, built in 1966. There was a lease there for 135,000 square feet from June 2017 for $2.59. This is 25-foot wall height and there's a total area there of 778,718 square feet of land. That 1,000 King Edward used to be the Safeway Distribution Center on King Edward. So that land area there actually is for the entire site. This lease is only for 135,000 square feet of that building. So the above rental comparables range from $2 per square foot to $3.15 per square foot. Index number 1 is similar in size to the subject but is newer in age. Based on the above, we will use an overall net rent of $3.15 per square foot for the subject property. For the balance of the valuation, we will apply the following parameters. Vacancy. The subject property has been classified as industrial heavy manufacturing and receives a 2.5% vacancy allowance. Subject property produces paper, board, packaging, which is not considered heavy manufacturing. For the 2018 assessment, the vacancy rate was 4%. For the purpose of this report, we're classifying the property as industrial space and using a 4% vacancy allowance. We're accepting the 3.75 for a shortfall and using a 7% non-recoverable. And for the cap rate, we're disputing the assessor's capitalization rate of 7, but I guess that we're disputing cap rate of 7.5 because that was in the recommendation. We're suggesting that due to the age, 1958, the size of the building, it's located on Gulfsby, it's not on King Edward or Barrie or another industrial area, that the cap rate should be 8%. Therefore, based on our rent of $3.15, 4% vacancy, 7% non-recoverable, $3.75 shortfall and an 8% cap, we come in with a rounded value of $5,836,000. $5,736,000. Now, if I could turn the board to page 13, there's just some more photos of the property. As you can see, it doesn't have high ceiling height. It's an old masonry building. 14 shows the office space. 15 is the lunchrooms. You can see on 16 here that there's low wall height, and there isn't any heavy machinery in this. Like, they make cardboard boxes and packaging. Page 17, you don't need hard hats or anything like that. You just need hairnets. And then 18 is just a storage for the paper that comes in to make the cardboard boxes. There's the warehouse for the finished product. Same with 20, page 20, the two there, and page 21. And this is the evaluation from last year where the cap rate was 7.5, and I'm looking for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. Mr. Farlick, questions?
Yeah, what percentage of the building is 21, has a wall height of 21 feet?
I don't know that.
Yeah. 'Cause I'm just trying to think where the ceilings are a bit elevated on page 3 of your brief, but because like the previous assessor had that same question, right? And it's,
They might have, because if you look at the photos, it doesn't look like any of the areas that.
Yeah, exactly, so that's what I was just trying to make out. And what's the vacancy rate for the eastern section of Winnipeg on the major of the Johnson reports and the areas?
Johnson report?
Because I know.
For Elmwood, it says 8% for Elmwood.
Yeah.
East Kelowna, 6.7. That was in December. Total inventory was 2.6 for Elmwood and 0.8 for East Kelowna. Okay. That's total inventory. Okay. That's based on the Johnson report.
Okay. No other questions.
Thank you. Richard, questions?
No questions.
No? Myself. Plan area, 3.42. That's just the parking lot, isn't it?
No, I think that
It's all the field in the back.
It includes the field in the back.
That includes that field?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So on page 3, yeah, it's massive.
They definitely have room for expansion.
It just looks like more than 3.42 if you count the field.
Because it's such a big building though, right? So because the building's so large, it just seems so massive, but it's just efficient, right? Because a lot of times, we'll have an industrial property in the middle. You won't have everything skewed to one side or the other.
This comes right out to the
Yeah.
boundaries, doesn't
15 feet.
How firm are you in your,
What's that?
if I might interject, Mr. Chair, how firm are you on the 4.0 ratio before you start to look at excessive surplus value?
You know what? Well, the thing is, it's just I've had situations before in the past whereby it's a guideline because the agents will argue that it has to be 4-to-1, has to be 4-to-1. But if you have large facilities like the two ones that I've just learned about this cycle because I came from office, is we got the Sobeys on Inkster and we got MLCC. We have two situations here where the land to building ratio was below 4-to-1 and they still did inspections. So the 4-to-1 ratio, it's a guideline. It's just like when we use 8-to-1 ratios for car dealerships. It's a guideline. So if it seems to be too much or too low in one area, then we'll make an adjustment or I'll be mindful of it. I have a property coming up on appeal right away whereby the agent's looking for a really, really low rent, but it has tons of excess land. And we're not asking for excess land on this one, but because it's compensated by the higher rent. And so, appraisal work and assessment works as science, right? There's no correct answer all the time, but what's being reasonable or not. So, you know what? I looked at it. I went through that same question because realistically, what they could do with all the infill housing, they could put apartment blocks there, and they could still have a valuable operation. But it's just I didn't deem it necessary to put any value for excess land just because it's below 4-to-1. But on paper, it looks like there's tremendous potential for that because you still got tons of room for trucks.
My question is done, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Mr. Vickery, I know better. Mr. Vickery,
Oh, but be fair.
You brought up on page 22, you talked about the cap rate now of 7.5%. Okay, but that on page 22. Okay, so what year was that for?
Well, the one that I have here is 7.5. That's the 2018.
Yeah.
But then I had mentioned in my report that I said 7, but Mr. Krolik actually made a recommendation of 7.5.
The cap rates are all over the place.
Yes.
Okay. So, but you concluded value at the 8% cap rate.
Yes.
Okay. So the city prior to this was at 7.
Yes.
And then they went to 7.5.
Yeah.
And you're at 8.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the old one at 7.5 from 18, the old one had a higher vacancy and had a 5% management. So you take away that, you increase the income. So
I'm just trying to highlight various issues. Summation either party?
No, I think we're good.
I just have to make one summation, I guess. You'll see on several of these presentations where it'll have that there's municipal board pending on them, and I don't think that should be alter any of the decisions today. That's all.
Well, you know what, in fairness though, if we do an inspection of this property, I cut may be warranted even more so. But I'm not in a position to do that without doing an inspection on the property. So that's why I share that information there, Doug. Does that seem fair, Doug?
Yeah.
So that's why I say that, because my recommendation was based on the limitations of the building. And so I made what I felt was a proper adjustment to it.
All right, let's go on to Watt Street, 485. Mr. Frolick, the floor is yours. And I didn't look at all, but there's a recommendation. And I don't think you guys are close, so you may proceed.
Doug's trying to hit home runs with every one of these.
Just put the value that I think is fair.
File number is 192713. Roll number is 02040788 200. Assessed value that we have for this property is $18,277,000. It's also industrial heavy manufacturing. There's 15 buildings in total. The actual year was built between 1917 to 1999. The effective year built that we have for these is 1999 to 1999. Our overall effective year that we have for this building is 1978. And what I do want to acknowledge is in my research, 40% of the building has been built after 1990. Zoning's M1. We have a land area of 960,034. We have a leasable area of 366,304. And we have a plan area of 2.67. Subject property is located on Watt Street, also at Bates Kimberly in East Kildonan. So I've got a variety of pictures showing where it looks like facing eastbound. Then I got a view from Gillespie, the main entrance, which is off of Monroe, not Kimberly. Sorry about that. And so you got some properties here that are bottom of page 3 shows the Monroe facing. The back portion shows all the trucking area. And similar to the subject property, because this property is 366,000 square feet. Our previous one was 172, so you can see the difference where the parcel of those lands are pretty much similar. But the difference is that because there's an extra 200,000 square feet, there doesn't seem to be as much excess land on the bottom of page 4. Page 5 shows a general overview of where it's located at in East Kildonan. So it's on Monroe, in between Raleigh and Henderson Highway and Watt Street. I haven't inspected this property. All these pictures are provided from offices briefed in the past. So pages are 6, 7, 8, 9. Property owner has been compliant with regards to filling out income and expense mailer information. And because of the different buildings that have been built over the years, what I've done in my recommendation is I've just created one blended rate of $3.50. So, you know what, I'll share that with you guys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Just so you guys, Marcel.
Sir?
So when we looked at the last one, my model rate was $3.95. This one here, I reduced the rent to $3.50 because it's a bigger building. The rest of our parameters, so we got 366,304 square feet. Using 2.5% vacancy, we come up with effective gross income of $1,336,952. Using expenses and shortfall, we've got a net operating income of $1,275,000. Initially, our cap rate was 7%. I've changed that to 7.5% because I'm being mindful of the fact that this is a bit bigger building. So using 7.5% with my new adjusted net operating income of $1,190,671, I come up with a value of $50,876,000. My comparables are the same, and they are significantly lower than the model rent that I've offered here today. That concludes my global presentation. 350 square foot. I was just reading off this, and I was reading off of the back of page 12. And I'm open to any questions.
I thank you. Mr. Becker?
Just a couple. There's actually a total of 50 different premises in this built property, isn't there?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess in the production plant, your flow isn't going to be as good if you have to keep adding on piecemeal. Would that affect the flow in the production?
Well, the range of wall heights is like 12 feet for the office space and 23 feet. So I haven't inspected it, but if I'm looking, because you may have it here, you know, it's window manufacturing. So, you know, when it comes to usually window manufacturing is a manual job, so having the variety, and the variety doesn't seem to be that significant. And if they wanted to, they made the business decision not to standardize their spaces for different reasons, because it's, we got the original building built in 1917, which was 17 feet, and everything else, like the storage area is 12 feet, is actually very small. But if we're looking at the majority of the space here, overall, the majority of the space is between 18 feet and 20 feet, which seems about right for a manufacturing facility of windows. You don't really need it doesn't have the storage capacity of, say, a Sobeys where you're using forklifts and huge pallets, so.
I just mean the flow, if it's a production, usually production buildings are built all as one, to not have to add another piecemeal added on, especially when you got an odd shaped lot, wouldn't it be more efficient?
Well, I guess it would be more efficient, but obviously they've chosen not to be efficient in their building patterns. Well, I'm being honest. We're looking at it. They could have made all the ceiling heights the same. They made the choice.
Ceiling heights don't have anything to do with production.
Well, at the end of the day, though, we're looking at they could have made everything standardized, and they chose not to.
I know, but your ceiling heights are better for storage, correct?
Yes, they are.
But if you got a production line running with windows on it, it doesn't matter whether it's 20 feet or 25 feet, does it?
Exactly. Which is why
It'd be nice to keep it in a line instead of all over the buildings.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of people work. To me, I didn't understand why the question was.
All right, that's fine.
It's like building a Model T, you want them all running down a straight line.
Well, yeah, but the point is you're not building buildings between 15 feet and 20 feet above the ground.
Is that it, Mr. Becker?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Whitbed?
I have nothing, thanks.
Mr. Rundle?
No, I learned the first time.
I'm offended by that.
Nothing?
Nope.
That's all? Okay. We're ready for your presentation, Mr. Becker.
Okay, on page 3, there's a property description, and where I mentioned 15 different buildings, you can see there that the original building was 1917, that was 40,000 square feet, the 17-foot height, and then we go 26,000, well actually 29 with mezzanine area. Goes all the way down to come up with 359,174 square feet. But it's been built in stages, different wall heights, different construction. But we're not disputing the effective age of 1978. Page 4 is just an overheads of the property showing the site. Page 7, okay, my original talk of the market rent was based on 374, but Mr. Fullock has made a recommendation at 350. I've got the same comparables here that I used on the property on Goldsby, where I'm suggesting a rent of $3. The largest property I have here is the one on Sherwin Road, which is $175,000. That's got a March 1st, 18, 1 month prior to the reference date of $3.15 for the wall height of 19 feet. Now it's older than the average or effective age of the subject property, but the subject property is also 366,000 square feet. It's more than double the size of this. And based on the economy of sales, I'm using $3 a square foot on the entire area of 366,304 square feet. Now under vacancy, the subject has been classified as industrial heavy manufacturing, receives a 2.5% vacancy allowance based on the City of Winnipeg assessment and taxation parameters. Now, according to the Johnson report, which I did not read properly in the last one, for investment, the 2017 industrial vacancy rate for investment and owner-occupied properties in Elmwood was 2.6, which is close to what the city is using. However, when owner-occupied properties are removed from the vacancy rate, climbs to 8%. So the vacancy rate that they use in the Johnson report includes owner-occupied properties. So I'm suggesting that this property should get a 4% vacancy, 375 shortfall, 7% non-recoverable. Cap rate, I said I'm disputing the cap rate 7. In this case, I'm disputing the cap rate based on the recommendation of 7.5, and I'm using 8%. My 8% is based on original age and 366,000 square feet of property. They don't have high ceiling heights. I think there is a higher risk for a property like this if you were to be able to rent it or sell it. Therefore, I'm using 8%, and I'm suggesting a value of $11,577,000. Now, I have about 16 pages of photos. If you like, I can go through them. The first one on page 11, this shows part of the portion of the little office space. Number 12 shows some more, this is basically office and storage. 13, majority of this is all storage space. 14, storage. 15, some more office space and some exterior photos. Number 16 is the top right-hand corner would be part of the production, and the bottom left-hand corner is outside, and the other two is part of the storage going before production. 17, these are production areas. Top of 18 is one side is loading, the other side is like the mechanical area. And then they have a mechanical room at the bottom of 18, and I'm not exactly sure what the room on the bottom left-hand corner. This is more warehouse and shipping, more warehouse and shipping on page 20. Page 21 is more storage. 22 is part office and part exterior photos. 23 is all exterior. 24 is in the, again, more storage area. And then 25 is exterior pictures, just like the property. So you can tell from the pictures, there's not a lot of the property is used for storage of materials prior to manufacturing. And based on that, I feel the value should be reduced to $11,577,000. I'm open for questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Front?
Are there any large sales that have taken place of large properties that have taken place recently that would be of similar square footage?
I'm not going to aware of.
None that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Do the panel members have the cap rate study provided by Altus?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep, okay. So I'm referencing page 13.
Okay.
I think mine is over there.
Why don't we do
Are
it?
those yours?
This is all my stuff.
It's in the bottom of your file.
Yeah, I know.
The cover page may say for retail, but it's supposed to be for investor. A little too much cut and paste.
Yeah, it's so easy to make mistakes with the volume of work that we're doing these days.
Yeah.
Okay, so on page 13, I'm referencing index number 3.
Yes.
Okay. Are one of those properties used as one of your comparables on that property? Because I think you have Keith and Sherwood Road as a comparable. And I'm just wondering
I
if
have
that's...
one at 1093 Sherwood.
And is the property at 1093 Sherwood? Or is that a different property?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at their stuff here. Keith and Sherwood is a large retail industrial strip.
Yeah.
So there's many units in that one.
Okay.
Just a sec. So there's a picture of it on page 17, Keith and Sherwood Road.
Because I think that's a strip all where there's like 6 different buildings, is it not there?
There are several there, similar
Yeah.
to Paramount.
But the bottom of page 17 looks pretty big in size though. Or-
Well, the total area of the entire site would be what's on that.
Yeah, 275, okay. So, and is it close to both this property and the previous property in terms of the effective age of the building? Because we have between 1967 and 1977, and I think for our property here we have 1978. So would it be comparable finish?
Well, I have, for my comparable on my rental, I have it as 1964.
Okay,
So the building I'm using in that is a 1964 building.
okay, and it's, just to confirm, it's 256,645 square feet?
That's what it says here, yes.
Okay. And the cap rate that you presented here was 6.94%?
Yes, but I'm not saying this is the exact same property, because mine was built in 1964. That's in the old industrial park by where the old Eaton's warehouse used to be. There's Stevenson Road, there's Sherwin, there's Keith. There's all that area that backs you to the airport site.
Mm-hmm. But the point is that when I look at the sales price per square foot, it's $70.33, and the values that you're asking for today for like 485 Watt and the Gillespie property, it's more than half of that.
Oh, it should be.
It should be $30 a square foot, not the $70 a square foot that we have
I'm
here.
not saying for this one. This is investment property. This is made up of, I don't know how many units there are that are renting for higher than what the subject would ever rent for at 366,000 square feet.
But they are comparable in age and in size, are they not?
As one whole conglomerate, they would be, yes.
And would that require a 50% reduction in the overall bricks and mortar as an actual building?
Well, I don't think you could take the subject property on Watt or on Goldsby and turn it into several buildings with several different units that you'd have to do. If you look at our table there, it's got there right there, investment category A is 6.25 to 7, and investment B is 7 to 7.5. This is a non-investment grade building. You want to rent this building unit 366,000 square feet. It's not that you can carve out a little piece of it. I guess if they wanted to, they could, but.
I'm just referencing the fact that, the valuation for the property is more than twice than what you're looking for today. No further questions.
Thank you. Richard?
No questions.
Marcel?
I'm trying to remember, on this lot, how much of this was unheated? Unheated, yeah. There was unheated storage on it, if I remember right.
I can't. I don't know the answer to that, Mr. Arnold.
So on page 25, Doug has a picture of a Quonset.
Go to page 26 and you'll see some more unheated
Yeah.
storage.
But I don't know if we have that in our valuation or just outside of buildings here, right?
That's what I'm asking.
I don't know.
I'm not sure, Mr. Arnold.
On your page 25, I can't get it. You got the pictures. You decide. I got no further questions.
Okay. I just have one question. The present status, I guess, of the property, is it at the municipal board or anything like that?
I didn't check.
Okay.
No, you know what? We didn't appeal it for 18. It was done by a firm out of the States. They gave it property license this year, so I think we did it way back in 14 or something, and then.
Yeah.
It wasn't appealed in 14, but in 16 the value, can I share?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was $10,459,000.
Was that us or somebody else? I don't remember.
Yeah, I didn't write that down, but I just write down the first quickly.
What year was that again? 16, I think you said, or 14?
It was 16.
But it wasn't appealed.
No, it was appealed. In 2016, it was 11,464.
Okay. And it came down.
Yeah.
Okay. Summation, either party?
No thanks.
Okay. We're going to have a little break. Okay. So we'll take 5 or 10, whatever else is focus. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. And the next property will be 2520, I think it's Spurrier Street.
2520 Spurrier Street?
Yeah, 2520.
Oh, we just don't.
No, we didn't. second. Mr. Frolick, the floor is yours.
Okay. File number is 192734. Roll number is 050001532000. The value that we have for this property is $4,729,000. It's also industrial heavy manufacturing. The effective years that we have for this property is between 1951 and 2006. The wall heights are between 14 and 32 feet. We have a land area of 786,207, and we have a leasable area of 48,583. I do have a recommendation for this after discussing it and doing research. My recommendation is based on, doing the research on this, and by comparing it, I noticed that there's some unheated space there for some of the sheds. And what we have done, initially we had 5,081 square feet at $3.28 a square foot. I reduced that to $2.50 a square foot because that's unheated.
That part is unheated?
Yeah. And there's as you can see, the land to building ratio is 16.8. Doug and I had discussions, and he was okay with the land value that we assessed for this property, the surplus land of $1,139,000. So that's why I provided no extra documentation on that.
He agrees with it?
The land value.
Yes.
And you were at $4,219,000?
That's my recommendation.
He's got to be agreeing to that too.
He should.
I'm going to be asking.
1 sec, please.
Mr. Becker?
I feel like Terry Balkin. Or brother, or Curry Hill.
Brother Terry had more hair.
Yeah.
Mr. Becker?
I don't know what to say. We're very close on our rents now, but we do like 7% and a higher cap, but okay, I'll have to accept it now. I'll talk to the client. If he doesn't like it, then put another one in there.
Thank you, Doug. At least all my hard work and efforts, not for naught, where I'm creating spreadsheets, I'm trying to work at things.
So you are in agreement, Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Panel members, any questions?
None for me.
Myself?
Not now.
So you have that. Okay, we'll just go further down the street, number 2500 Fraser Street. Mr. Frolick, the floor is yours.
Unfortunately, I don't have anything on this one. Where's my brief? File number is 194537. Roll number is 0500153150. For 2020, we have assessed the value of $4,365,000. It's parcel uses, industrial heavy manufacturing, 7 buildings here. Some are 1 to 2 stories. Effective years between 1963 and 1975. We have an effective year of 1964 for this building that we've had for evaluation. Once again, the land is 1,282,000 square feet, roughly 282,508. We have a leasable area of 72,312. And with regards to the surplus land, we've agreed to a value of $1,111,000.
You've agreed?
We've agreed, we're not disputing that,
Okay.
because there is, surplus land on this property.
Yep.
On page 2, so if we're looking at where the property is located at, it's on Ferrier, just north of Wheelock in Garden City. I got some variety of pictures showing the outside of it. On Ferrier, there's the main entrance, and then I got the western part of the building, I got the eastern part of the building. And it's a unique shape, as you can see on the bottom of page 3, where there's a slate cutout. That's there. And just north of there will be the Chief Pegasus Parkway. Page 4 and 5, I haven't inspected this building, so these pictures are provided from a previous brief. As you can see here, the office space looks decent. And page 5 shows, the heavy manufacturing that does take place here with the overhead cranes. Consistent with, I do believe, these wall heights here are 45 feet. And page 6 also shows some other areas of production. What I provided here is there's a sales listing for this property, and I've just provided this here for information. There's no sale price or anything like that, but it's currently on the marketplace. And here's some information just showing some of the details of the information that I've already shared. On page 8, 63,000 square feet of precast building suitable for a large-scale user, heavy manufacturing, M2 zoning, talks about the 23 feet of clearing space, the large column-free span of 70 feet, which is very important. There's sizable loading. It talks about the desirable location, close to accesses of McDonald Street and Main Street and the perimeter highway, close to commercial activities taking place. And it also shows some of the office pictures that I've shown in the brief. Page 9 here gives some of the specs and gives you a bit better picture of where it's located at, consistent with what I was stating beforehand. There is a confidentiality agreement with regards to potential sale price, so I can't even reference that, because what will happen sometimes is I'll make a recommendation based on what I feel is whatever the list price is. But looking at the parameters of what we have here, I felt comfortable with our assessed value. What we have here is they have been compliant with regards to filling out income and expense mailing information. They are owner-occupied. And what we have here is there is a sales history of the property on page 8. In December 7th of 2005, it sold for $3,419,000. And there's also a sale in January of 2001 for $2,270,000. So our current valuation that we have here, looking at a leasable area of $72,312, using a rent of $3.47 a square foot, we come up with a value of $250,923, using a vacancy of 3.5%. And our expenses, we come up with a net operating income of $227,907, using a 7% cap rate. We come up with a value of $3,254,000, with additional land value of $1,111,000. We come up with assessed value of $4,365,000. What I've done on the bottom here is I've just included some lease comparables of different properties. They've been consistent with the other information that we've had here. There's some additional ones that I haven't included in the past, but with regards to 1969, 1970, 1983, some additional ones. I feel comfortable with our rent. And that concludes my formal presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Booker, question?
What's the date of the listing?
It is post-reference, and like I said, it's only there for information, just to show the pictures of it, because sometimes the listing is more concise and it provides more information than going through the panel members. So this way the panel members can read it, even though I've said it. How I learn things is I learn things by actually reading it and writing it out. So that's why I included there for reference.
Yeah.
There's no sale price or anything like that that lists that. I just completely just put that there for information.
All right.
Because and a prime example of this is, even though I've mentioned it, we talk about the, the large column free span, the 23, something like that I won't mention, but that's obviously quite desirable for the right buyer in the right situation.
That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Richard?
Looking at one of the photos, it shows a future Chief Peguis.
Yeah.
So how long are we talking? 10 years it's been for sale? Can I ask
Has
this
this
question?
property been on sale?
For sale for at least 10 years?
No.
Or just
This is a current listing that just came out last year.
So the photos in your evidence show, I'll have to find the page there.
That's from the previous appeal,
Page 9.
page 9.
It says future Chief Peguis
Yeah,
trail.
yeah. Well, because it's already been approved, it's just a matter of financing for that extension to go from,
But that extension has been a long time.
well, yeah, but it hasn't been connected from Main Street to McPhillips yet. It finishes up at Main Street.
I'm sorry. I was thinking that was me.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the farrier, which is actually McGregor.
Because the length of time it's on for sale
Yeah.
would dictate very
Yeah,
much
no.
the seller.
Yep.
Okay,
No, that's,
gotcha.
okay.
Thank you.
No
My
problem.
fault.
No worries.
Marcel?
No.
Mr. Becker, the floor is yours.
Okay, if I could turn the board to page 8. We're agreeing with the assessor's market rent of $3.47. We're agreeing with the vacancy around 3.5, shortfall of 3.75. We're requesting 7% non-recoverables, and we're asking for a 7.5% cap rate as opposed to the 7. If I could ask the board to turn to, actually, I guess one of the reasons for the cap rate is the board could look at page 3. The property is just over 70,000 square feet, but close to 55,000 square feet of it was built in 1963 and in 1965. And the newer portions were 72 and 75, and so the building it's not a new building, and I think if it was to be purchased right now, it would be more for the land value, but you'd have to look at the demo cost of the cement land like this. It would be quite extensive. So if I could ask the board to turn back to the photos on page 17. Page 17 is all precast concrete. This shows the area where everything's produced, where they do the precast piles, etc. Page 18, this is the production area. This is that long building with the precast. And then we have at the bottom of page 19, we have one of the older buildings, and that's the top of this picture of it. It's like a machine shop in there. Page 20, this is another older building on the side, and you can tell this would be one of the original 1963 buildings. Probably a very little value, but that's what it is. And our main issue on this one is, for this type of property, we feel a cap rate of 7% is too low. And if you look on page 14 and 15, this was last year's board revision decision where they reduced the assessment from $4,356,000 down to $3,881,000 using a capitalization rate of 7.5%. So we're asking for an overall rounded value of $3,987,000 based on the assessor's rent, leasable area, vacancy rate, but we ask for 7% non-recoverables and a 7.5% cap rate. And that's my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Froelich, questions?
What would be the demolition costs on something like this?
They'd be quite expensive. All that concrete.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's in the land either.
Yeah. Would there be asbestos there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
like they are going forward with the development to the north, Aurora.
Yeah.
That's going right up the prairie.
And so, by any chance, you don't know what the sale prices of that land was for any chance, do you?
No, that was all farmland, I think.
Yeah.
It was undeveloped.
Yeah. I think some of this stuff is selling around for about this square foot.
Yeah, I know, but it's,
Yeah.
the sewer, they're putting the sewers in now in that portion.
Yeah. There's actually no questions. No other questions, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Whitbread?
No question.
Mr. No.
Yeah, $10 square foot, I'd make it $7 million. No questions.
All right. I think you both agreed on the excess land, so it's only the recoverable and the tax rate. Summation, either party?
Nope.
Okay. Let's go to the last one, which is Dunlop, number 55. Mr. Bullock, whenever you're ready.
File number is 193206. Roll number is 140641, 61600. We have assessed value of $6,288,000. Years built for this property is between 1974 and 1988. It's all under one roof, even though the buildings were built over different periods of time. We have wall heights from 14 to 26 feet. It's zoned 2. We have a land area of 195,006, and we have a leasable area of 102,258. So here's a situation where we talk about land to building ratios. Well, if land to building ratios are so important, why would they've done all these expansions over the years? So page 2, just a picture of at the front of the property, looking northeast, looking west at the property, looking at the areas where they have parking and whatnot there with regards to truck access and whatnot. On the bottom of page 3, it shows that it's clearly in the inter-industrial park section. Access points are off of Dunlop and Hutchins. And on the top of page 4, you can see all the different subsections that were built over the time. See by all the different roof lines. So what we have here is initially 47,000 square feet were built in 74. Additional 10,000 square feet were built in 76. Then in 1980 there was 28,000 square feet, and in 1988 there was 15,000 square feet there. Bottom of page 4 shows pictures from the subject property inside of it. Page 5 shows some of the manufacturing process. Property owners have been compliant with regards to filling out income and expense mailers. And for some strange reason, although we talked about workload and everything like that, I forgot to include the income and expense mailer. So I do apologize for that. There was a sale that had taken place on January 16, 2006 for $2,275,000. And because it's owner occupied, there are no subject leases. What we have for a value here, so we have 102,258 square feet with a rent area of $4.69. Using a 3.5% vacancy, expenses at 2%, shortfall $375, we come up with a net operating income of $440,127. Using a 7% cap rate, we come up with the value of $6,287,000. My comparables are consistent with other aspects of my presentation, and that concludes my formal presentation.
You mean $6,288,000.
$6,288,000. What did I say?
287.
Yeah, it was at 539, so I was trying to be generous to Doug.
Yeah.
I rounded down. I'm open to questions.
That was a wreck.
Thank you, Mr. Becker.
Okay, so your effective age is 1977.
That is correct.
It has a large portion has got low ceiling height.
Yes, I actually, yeah,
And your land to building is 1.91 to 1,
yeah, 1.91, yep.
which is low for industrial, correct?
Yeah,
On page 7, you're using rent of 469. That's model driven.
that is correct.
And your comparisons, I just noticed the one you have at 1155. That's a 17 lease. It's 108,000 square feet, so it's slightly 6,000 square feet larger. It's 2 years newer, but it's 31-foot wall height, and it says 450.
Yep.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
Nothing to
Okay, Mr. Rondeau?
No, I'm good.
I have none. Mr. Becker, the floor is yours.
Page 4, please, on the top. Subject property, one-story industrial manufacturing / warehouse building located on the north side of Dunlop Avenue between Hutchins and Inkster. Improvements were constructed in 1974 in the gross building area of 102,258 square feet with 3 different wall heights. Approximately 60% of the improvements have an extremely low wall height of 14 feet. Approximately 25% of the improvements have a wall height of 20 feet, and approximately 15% of the improvements have a wall height of 26 feet. We would refer I didn't attach the building plan, so we can forget that. Sorry.
You're both getting to that point where you
Well,
forget.
you know what, it's been a tough haul.
These were all due over Chris. No. The subject site is irregular in shape with the total site size as recorded by the Assessment Taxation Department of approximately 195,006 square feet with M2 zoning. Land to building ratio is considerably low at approximately 1 to 1.92. If I could ask the board to turn to page 6. The assessor has applied a net rent of $479,590 in value of the subject, which appears to be based upon a net rental rate of approximately $4.69 per square foot applied to the gross building area. The subject property was owner occupied as of April 1st, 18th. We note that the reported gross income for the subject was $475,500 with a reported NOI of $210,620 after deduction of operating expenses. However, the rent in place is between corporate affiliates, Megalith Holdings Limited, Industrial Limited, Rubber Supply 1995 Limited, and we have not placed any weight on either the gross income or the reported 2017 NOI in our valuation. Therefore, we have done some market research and we have found the following comparables. One thing at 1,000 King Edward, again, that's a larger property, effective age is 66. It has a 25-foot wall height. It has a net rent of $2.59. 1155. It's newer than the subject property, slightly larger. On March 18, it has a lease of $4.50 per square foot, but it has a 31-foot height. It has a 2.20 land to building ratio. 1425 White. This was built in 1953. It's considerably older and smaller. It has a 2016 lease for $3.79 a square foot. And then we have one at 1670 Inkster that was built in 1974. It's considerably smaller at 42,480 square feet. Has a 2016 lease for $4.05 a square foot. It's 22-foot wall height with a 3.30 to 1 land to building ratio. The above rents range from $259 to $450. The best comparison is 1155 Street. However, this property is newer than the subject and has a 31-foot wall height. Based on the above, we're using an overall net rent of $4 per square foot. We're using 3.75 for vacancy, 3.75 for shortfall, 7% for non-recoverables. And on page 7, I discussed the capitalization rate. Subject has been assessed with a capitalization rate of only 7%. However, we believe that the rate is far too low for the subject and does not reflect the elevated risk associated with the property. Over half of the building has a very low wall height of only 14 feet, which places the property at an exceptional disadvantage and results in a substantially elevated risk of the property. Improvements are older, having been constructed in 1974. Property is a single-tenant facility of over 100,000 square feet. There are very limited single users and occupiers who require an area as large as this. This limited market also elevates the risk inherent to the subject, and the land-to-building ratio is very low at only 1.91 to 1. You can go through our capitalization rate study if you like, but I am suggesting a capitalization rate of 8% for the subject property. On page 8, building age, I got my valuation. We're using $4 a square foot, 3.50 for vacancy, $7 non-recoverable, $3.75 for shortfall rate, and an 8% cap rate for a rounded value of $4,708,000. I've got photos starting on page 13. This is the exterior of the subject property. There's some office space here on this kind of part of the building. There's a hallway. This is part of the manufacturing area. You can see the low ceiling height. There's some storage at the top of page 16 and the bottom of page 16 as well. 17 is the loading area. Number 17 is more at the top, more storage at the bottom. More storage again on page 18, top and bottom. Page 19 is the manufacturing at the top, and there's another overhead doors at the bottom of page 19, and then page 20 is more storage area. And that's my presentation.
Thank you.
Mr. Frolick, a couple questions. You're requesting an 8% cap rate,
Yes.
and so would you not say that, and for the two other properties that we dealt with or with a couple properties that we dealt with that were significantly larger, you also asked for an 8% cap rate. So wouldn't common sense say much smaller, different location, more buyers available to purchase this?
Yeah.
Wouldn't a lower cap rate be justified for this property?
What I found is usually when you have lower ceiling height and a low land-to-building ratio, which the other properties didn't have, they had decent ceiling heights. And when you're over 100,000 square feet, it increases the risk.
Okay. So,
Again, this is an Inkster Park too. Everything that's being built now in that area is built on the, I guess it would be the northwest side of Route 90. I guess that's called Centerport, and then also along Inkster Boulevard between Keewatin and Route 90, there's a whole new development again going up to the north of industrial. So any demand there, they seem to be building in that area.
okay. Well, when we talk about demand, I'd like to reference your cap rate study on page 13. So index number 6 is on Church Avenue, which is very close to the subject property, is it not?
Yes.
Okay. It was built in 1971, or the original age is 1971, and the effective age is 71. Would it not be similar to the subject property in terms of effective age of 1977?
Effective age would be close, yes.
Yeah, okay. And in terms of leasable areas, the property here at number 6, 83,000 square feet, and the subject property is 102, so would that be close enough, or would you do an adjustment for that?
We have found that if it's over 100,000 square feet, the cap rates are usually higher.
Okay, but it's 102,000 square feet, so that's significantly higher.
But it is over that 100,000.
Okay.
It has lower ceiling height. At least you have some 20-foot height in that one.
Yeah, but we have some 24, we have some higher heights in here as well, I think. No, we not. Don't we have at least, I think, what, 25% of it is more than, let me double check here.
Yeah, if you look on page 25, there's the work up for church. And it's 83,000, but there's actual leases in place of from $5 to $5.50 to $8.90 and up to $11.75.
Yeah.
So there's individual units in there that are renting for a considerably higher rate.
Yeah. So that may be stating that we're undervaluing this property then.
What do you mean?
Well, if they're comparable and if they're renting for much higher, maybe our 479 is being generous.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're comparable. part of the cap rate set.
Okay. Okay, but 40% of the subject property has feet that's greater than 20 feet is for wall height.
How much?
40%. Because you have 25%, that's 20 feet.
60%, yes.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
pretty close, in terms of, and so some of those higher rents may be, if it's,
Well, if you want me to compare it to the one on Church, I would say it's a good comparison. Church has, I'm going by memory, has a larger landed building, better docking facilities. If you've got multi-tenant in an industrial building, you're going to need more than a 1.9
Yep.
1-to-1 land.
I guess that. But essentially what you're looking for is that the sales price per square foot is $86 and you're requesting $46, which is almost like a 40% reduction as well in valuation. So that seems to be, and when you're looking at that cap rate difference of 8% that you're seeking, that's a 1.2% difference in what you're looking for, the valuation.
Well, you could spin it that way, but...
Well, I'm just asking a question.
No, but I mean,
I'm not spinning anything,
No,
I'm just
but I
asking a
mean,
question.
By you asking me that, do I think I could get $15 rent for the subject property?
I didn't ask that,
But that's what Church was getting.
Now he's spinning.
Anyways, it was just an observation. No other questions, thank you.
I thank you. Richard, questions? Maurice? Maureen? Marcel? Nope, I'm good. Okay. I just have one question, Mr. Becker. Have you been to the subject property?
It was when it was a different company,
Okay.
prior to them becoming,
So, it's a nice building, I think. Okay.
it's an older building. It's
Older?
Yeah.
Okay. But add-ons, etc. But it looks nice, does it not? So
It's dated.
okay, dated. Okay. So I'm just trying to, it looks nice in the in the pictures and that, and I'm just wondering about the 8% cap rate.
Just, mainly it's my reasoning for that is the landed building,
Okay.
the wall height, and the square footage.
Okay. Okay. I thank you. Summation, either party.
No, I think I've spent far too much time here.